Dude, nobody was getting through Herbie. Not over by that staircase. There's no way. I mean, try as you like. Hoop was just doing a bang-up job of just dropping back down low, making sure that he can at least put himself in a position to try to get a reload off, get the regen if need be. And that was always constantly forcing Westcliff to try to rotate back over to the north side of the map. People were waiting on the backside of the God tank over by the spawn. And then you also have Gunzy that was just, again, proactively top church, top bunks, bottom church, you name it. It was all over the place.
All right, well, with that, we now know who the winner of our next matchup would have to face to finish off the day. Moving on to the lower round 3 matchup. But first and foremost, we go with the match you already see at the top of the screen. Starting things off, of course, we just saw him just a moment ago in a Map 5 affair versus St. Clair. Well, let's reintroduce Southern Illinois Edwardsville. The last two you just saw on the intro video were the biggest two for SIUE in a multitude of ways. First and foremost, map number 1, a massive comeback, winning by 2 on Tuscan Hardpoint. A lot of it done by Plasmid and Slow-Mo. Slow-Mo in particular, from the bottom side of P5 stairs, walks up, finds 3 to not just extend the map, but guarantee his team the rotation to win the hardpoint. He's been clutch with the MP40 in hand.
But also, you got to shout out D-Day for what they were doing on that Berlin Search and Destroy. Dropped somewhere near about like 10 kills with only about like maybe 5 or 6 deaths. Was electric, to say the least. Locking down lanes, making sure that they were finding crucial trades to make sure that advantage states stayed in favor for SIUE.
It's been a very difficult battle, though, for them, getting through a Map 5 affair versus St. Clair and then kind of getting the brakes beat off them by Northwood to start their tournament. They have a really tough opponent in front of them. It's the St. Edwards Hilltoppers. Let's take a beat right now.
Team in top barn, able to solidify a little bit of control through the middle of the map, and they're still winning a lot of these gunfights here. It's really just reality.
Be everything. It's looking like we're gonna close this one out here. Texas State. So this right back into it. Eons though finds a route, finds 2, 3 go down, and just like that, Hilltoppers are in. Still in the favor of SEU. Let's see if they can fight on out. Eons from behind finds 1.
Now 6 seconds left. Vanity looking to get from the side, hops in for the attention, wins a big 2-3.
Fortunate, he uses the glide bomb as all 3 of his teammates that were around the hill fall.
Would have been everything for Eons inside the hill this time.
Man wipe here for St. Edwards. You keep them spawning
Fresh.
towards the back left here of the river.
We saw a couple of glimpses out of the St. Edwards team, but the biggest thing as we move forward into the day, with Thresh in an opportunity to play the elite qualifiers, he actually now has to be subbed out, and Combat's going to step in. So as good as the St. Edwards team has been all throughout the year, this is going to be a fresh look and one that may be standing on uneasy ground.
Yeah, uneasy ground, crackling ice at their feet, man, because not having Thresh on this roster, I mean, no shade to Vanity Eon's reality, the other 3 for the Hilltoppers. It's just something that Thresh brings to the table. It's just a very aggressive main AR. He's not afraid to get his hands dirty. He's not afraid to force out rotations. It's going to be interesting to be able to see how quickly Combat can fit the mold to get themselves in with this Core 3 reality. Eon's Vanity need to put themselves in a really, really good position to make sure that their 4th isn't truly missed.
We'll take a look to see what this map set will look like here for this best of 5. We've gotten a lot of triple Tuscan from this SIUE team. That could still potentially be the case as it's the 3, 4, and 5. But we start things off with our first look at Kaj so far on the weekend. That'll be the opening hardpoint and the opening search and destroy. And here's the thing about both of these two teams, they had met previously. And when they had done so in the regional upper bracket, winners round 2, it was tight. It was a round 5 control and a really tight second hard point between these two squads. St. Edwards holding the advantage, winning that series 3-1, but that was with Thresh.
Yep.
So all of a sudden, I hate to kind of sit there and say that the St. Edwards team is weakened up because Common is a very solid and great player. Thing about it is just, it's not Thresh, right? He's been kind of the shining star and the main narrative builder around this Hilltoppers roster.
Really has been. I mean, when you're looking at it, as a whole, Thresh has not only been, for funny wordplay alone, a cornerstone for this team, but also, like, legitimately for this team's success. I like when you have SMGs that are just roaming around the map, influencing on a map like Bokaj. Thresh is doing all of that with an AR continuously through the season of 2022 since we have seen the Hilltoppers come through. I think that when you're looking at the grander scheme of things here for combat, you just have to come in and play to the best of your ability. Yeah. And for Hilltoppers as a whole, you have to be able to fully rely that Eons can continuously be that number 2, right? That Reality can continue to have this breakout second half of the season now that we're in the postseason. It's just people need to be able to have more respect for the other 3 players and can't just look at St. Edwards as just a Thresh threat. Yeah,
that's absolutely the case. And hey, if it says anything, watching this team play a couple of different times against some major opponents in the regular season, they were getting participation from more than just Thresh. Eons in particular, I would say, really kind of was the upstarter and kind of convincing factor of this St. Edwards team as a collective for being a major threat this year. But we take our look across the farmlands of France. It's Bokaj for map number 1, and I think first and foremost, knowing how clutch SIUE were in that opening first map that they saw in the last round from the SMGs in particular, if you're St. Edwards, you got to come out confident and just try to at least force some of your play style in the mix that you're used to when Thresh is in the lineup. Because Combat, like I mentioned, he is still experienced enough to be a part of this squad and still fulfill a solid position. But you have to come out and feel confident. You cannot start in the back foot, because otherwise SIUE may just run through this map.
Those are big LATAM shoes to fill. SIUE Esports, though, quite literally the definition of it never being shocked. A great start, though. I mean, well, seems like we might actually have, I was about to say, I was like, Eons, that was egregious, man. Come on, Combat's already subbing in. You don't need to be killing your teammates.
Yeah. All right, so with that in mind, we'll have a chance to kind of obviously break down these teams a little bit more, because this is the first time we're going to see St. Edwards kind of featured.
That's right.
Outside of the couple of instances we have look-ins on their opening winners bracket round matchups. The thing about the St. Edwards squad, I think overall, is the fact that comparing them to other teams that are here, I still feel like a lot of people are considering them out of the picture when it comes to potential top 4. But I don't necessarily hard agree with that fact, simply due to the fact that they had one of the toughest schedules throughout the regular season, not just in the second stage, which you expect for the top cut, but their opening division was not an easy one either compared to the other ones that we saw.
Not to mention, I mean, this is something that we brought up about like 6.5 hours ago when we started this broadcast. That entire region, that entire state, was just so damn competitive. There was a lot of good competition that came out from the entire western side of things, and St. Edwards is one of those teams that absolutely had to step up and trailblaze through a lot of other teams. One of which is on the other side of the lobby from them currently. But even more so than that, I mean, when you're thinking about it as a bigger picture, this St. Edwards team has been battle-tested online. Now it's about translating that coming into LAN, which again, I hate keep beating this dead horse, man. With not having Thresh, that is a big LAN experience player that is not going to be here to almost kind of be the glue for the team to keep them together. Again, apart from other look-ins that we've had at the beginning of the day, we don't know what this team truly does look like. How composed are they going to be when SIUE are just running around, especially Shlomo?
I think the biggest thing about this Cougar team is coming off of a very convincing Map 5 win, you start to feel like you've caught stride a little bit. You know, you had some confidence based on what you were able to do during the regular season and especially during their postseason, but to be able to do that against a very tested St. Clair team and establish at least some sort of dominance in the Map 5, you're starting to really set tone and set pace. So that's kind of, I think, the big key on either side. Number one, just to kind of really make sure we've cemented it for the side of SIUE, continue that. You know, work off the strengths that we just saw. Make sure that you're the one that's being proactive as well, because that's the other thing that we saw that was kind of a negative towards them off of at least the Berlin hardpoint was that they were a little statuesque at times. Get confident. Run that momentum. On the other side, though, for St. Edwards, even though you don't feel as comfortable because you're missing out on one of your star players, it can't be the end-all be-all with Thresh. And I think based on what they've put together throughout this year, I don't think they're worried about that being a hindrance.
They can't. They can't even worry about it. It can't be a hindrance. Because, again, you still have your core 3 of a roster. And all that said, the core 3 should absolutely be more than enough, especially when you're thinking about their front line, led by Eons. Nonetheless, you feel like that with all this narrative being talked about, like, Thresh has constantly been taken a look at as that star student for the St. Edwards squad. We're going to take a keen focus on Eons. I mean, look, when it comes down to it at the beginning of the year, we were looking at this squad, just kind of framing up everything. We're like, well, who's going to be number 2? Because you and I, walking away from the Cold War season, we watched a lot of LATAM COD, and we knew who Thresh was going to be looking at. But coming in towards this sub role, I truly feel like that Eons has absolutely stepped up to the plate and has been playing really good Call of Duty along with the aggressive AR that Thresh brought to the table.
We'll see if that's the case. After the regular season, it's number 5, Southern Illinois, Edwardsville, and number 7, St. Edwards University, Cougars and Hilltoppers. And it's a double dose of Bakaj to get us started. Let's get at it. And naturally, we start off with one of the players that really electrified the start of the St. Clair series. It's slow-mo through Barnside. Good stun connections as first blood is collected. Decent reads on more, but the response is pretty solid from St. Edwards as they're able to get back in and negate early time from the Cougars.
To recollect themselves all the way through gate. Also have presence coming through from the patio. It's awkward, Plasmin. Thought he might be able to get the melee off, just was not close enough. 3 for 1 we go in the middle of the map. But this gate control constantly being looked at for St. Edwards has been a big key to success for them here on P1. Still 25 seconds left to battle over. About 12 more seconds, and then St. Edwards are truly going to worry about this rotation over towards Sin.
Great time here, though, honestly speaking, for the Hilltoppers. Now as they do take their focus over past Barn, and maybe trying to block a little bit of spawns. That's Eons on 5. Cut short, though, and with the numbers, SIUE will reclaim not just a bit of the scrap time, but they also hold on to the preferred spawns as we get over towards the tank field.
Yeah, and that's massive for one. Again, St. Edwards getting inside Barn. They don't just settle for Barn control. They want those tin spawns because P2 can become a money hill. But now you got to deal with the Cougars starting to heat things up, trying to push past the middle of the map. They're going to meet you at that front door, but nobody is directly watching this very long angle, this very long flank that Combat's starting to piece together.
Oh, yeah, it's going to work out great for him. How about it? From the sub, working his way on the backside. Mythic there to test him, and with that, there is a trail of Cougars on the way back forward. So as much as there was an opportunity for St. Edwards possibly to block and maybe even flip the spawns, it goes a bit amiss, and SIUE right back into the hard point as they take their first lead.
So our student Neons playing the AR role instead of picking up an SMG. Almost have to feel that's probably to make Combat feel a little bit more comfortable. 3 for 1 we go. Still got to deal with Mythic behind this tree. And the close spawns to boot for the Cougars. But the Hilltoppers have done a great enough job, at least contesting from the front, buying time, to not allow SIUE to walk away with highway robbery on this hard point. Now, you still got to look at the rotation, set yourself up in Grandma's, because you know that SIUE are going to set themselves up to break early.
Here's Plasmic with the middle of the map, not able to lock down Combat, who extends his life and turns that into elimination. So kills good early for St. Edwards as Granny says open up. 3 in a row for Reality, watching the cross. Good information from the main AR for St. Edwards. But the problem about it is he's not really able to do too much with it. How about Combat, though? Double from inside the hill. Reality now here to help, and Eons will secure the team wipe. First 20 seconds. Done and dusted, and it's St. Edwards all over the hill.
Yeah, it's a really good setup as well. You also have Combat trying to fish for more kills over by L, and well, can't find much of anything at all. Now the introduction is going to come through from Slow-Mo, Plasmid, all the way from Tools, but trades need to start coming through, and Slow-Mo does help out the Hilltoppers' argument, at least with the teammate, but numbers too strong coming through from the Cougars. They will hold this from the front with 20 seconds still remaining in P3.
So an opportunity, though, for the Hilltoppers to not just neutralize, but also fight for the better part of this scrap 15 seconds. Reality, good read for the most part, and reaction onto Slow-Mo. But it doesn't make a difference. He was down to 17 HP, and Slow-Mo still turns it into a double. Once more, 3 in a row for Slow-Mo. SIUE all over the scrap time as Slow-Mo goes onto the killing spree, while the rest of his teammates already set up over towards Barn.
They're all inside Barn. Now Slow-Mo knows where he needs to turn around just a little bit too late. Eons will finally get that trade, so no streaks have been accrued for the Cougars so far. But what has been very much so counting on up is that time. That rotation from 3 to 4, not exactly a long one, but when you have Slow-Mo going on a massive spree like what we just saw, it allows the Cougars to get set up very, very far and wide, must I add, for this P4 hardpoint.
You need a little bit of patience here if you're St. Edwards. A lot of these final eliminations we've seen here in the last 30 seconds have been very individual. Mythic on the corner through the staircase. Knows he's got a player nearby, wants to wait for just enough help to force the gunfight, but stuns, able to push it back just touch. 4 in a row for Mythic. Teammates there to help out, and the Cougars SMG line really dominating here through the fourth.
13 and 12 for Slow-Mo. Mythic at 11 and 7 is also on a 5. Coming out from P4, needs to play this smart as they can. They got to be careful because of the spawns. Yeah, I mean, you have D-Day that's pushed all the way to the backside of the hedges. Mythic's not going to be aware of this, but he's also not going to get scouted. It might be communicated now from that position on the map as well. Just as soon as we hop away, Mythic does find kill number 6, but the time is going up to the game clock currently.
Slow-Mo able to help out a little bit, trying to get Mythic onto his 7th elimination. He finds it just off screen, so Glide Bomb has been earned. But with that all happening, St. Edwards actually have numbers not just on the hard point, but they're actually controlling the street side really darn well. Mythic on 7 looking for 8, shut down. St. Edwards, just when you thought things were about to go completely awry, they've done well in the first 30 seconds here on the river. Plasmid locking down the long trench side will open up space for SIUE to finally get into the 5th hill, but honestly speaking, for St. Edwards, it's almost job already done. You've done well enough in this first 40 to really mitigate SIUE running away with this game.
Still a sizable lead when you're thinking about it for Bokaj. Just a lot was gone through, just all off of that big spree that came through inside of P3 by Slow-Mo. Combat's really starting to heat things up, though. 11-15 now. Finding themselves really good positioning, really good damage to speak of as well. Going in towards the second set of hard points. You don't always need to be keeping a keen focus on towards P2. But you want to make sure that at least you are clearing all of Grandma's D-Day, and Combat will shoot him in the back over by the window, and now finds themselves on 3 in a row, while the rest of the Hilltoppers are soaking up some time.
The thing about it, these little mini sprees that we've seen out of Combat, if you're a St. Edwards teammate, you're sitting there gassing him to high heaven, saying, bro, you're nasty, keep it up. It wouldn't be a lie, that's for sure. Plasmid and Mythic working to kind of pinch up P1, and it's working out pretty darn nicely for him, but there are still a couple of Hilltoppers left to clean up. Eon's trying to force with the pistol, but no, not able to finish. That'll be enough for SIUE with the favored spawns to come back on through with the last 20 seconds to fight for and generate some pretty significant score.
Yeah, and that's going to be alarming for the Hilltoppers, right? Because you had a lot of positioning inside of Grandma's. That's the side that you were trying to play from, and you just allow the Cougars an opportunity to be able to get in to the backside of 10, able to get themselves some barn control. Player number 6 is Reality, trying to make the route happen now. That they won't flip out the spawns entirely, but they need to have trust that the other 3 players for the Hilltoppers will find kills going forward, so that way the spawns do flip out.
Need a convincing moment right here, right now for St. Edwards. D-Day from topside barn. Good to get the double. Predicts a third, but it's Combat around the back. They've pretty much largely missed each other. Kills do get tallied. St. Edwards in all of that chaos had flipped the spawns around favorably as they open up in towards fields. Should be pretty well aware that SIUE is hitting from the front. Nades are on the way in. And oh boy, how is Slow-Mo just ran through the rooftop. Nobody looked at it whatsoever. Finally, Combat turns to get the trade. But all of a sudden, the mix around the backside of the spawns is now in question, especially as D-Day is able to find one elimination, and Mythic is there to join him for a second. Things turn around, and just when SIUE was looking a little bit down and out, it will eventually lead to a spawn flip and a hardpoint break, and they're right back into a convincing lead.
40-point lead is going to be felt. You can always just try to go for these last little flurries. You have even the slightest bit of leader's advantage. That's exactly what the Cougars have. Going in towards P3, this was a really good hard point for St. Edwards during the first set, and they're setting themselves up for rotational gunfights. They're clearing away the main street, and they also know they have to deal with Mythic, who's on the backside of this castle tower. Here comes the challenge. Oh, Reality gives it up at the last second. Trade going to be there? No, it's 3 kills in a row for the Cougars. They're going to flood all the way through. Now, it won't break the spawns, but you're going to feel really alarmed if you're the Hilltoppers.
Reality keeping his life may have been a difference maker here. Even though it looked like he needed to get involved, he's still able to make sure that his teammates spawn in, and he turned it into a double. So just when things were looking dire for the Hilltoppers, St. Edwards, blessed with some spawns, turned that into a convincing break. 30 seconds to fight for. Back to a 20-point game. D-Day from the staircase can do absolutely nothing. And a couple of convincing kill feeds in a row for St. Edwards doesn't just get him back into the game. They can play for streaks with Reality, who's playing topside window. Kill number 6 stolen from him. But he's able to at least keep his life and hope that he can stretch closer to a glide bomb.
No, he's trying to chase these kills as well, Ivy, but everybody else from St. Edwards is starting to clean them up. And the spawns have flipped as well. Thanks for a rotation that came through from Eons, who's also on 4 in a row. Over on the backside of the barn, here comes the hit from the AS&D site. Reality going to be looking for these streaks. Combat eating some bullets. Can't find that first kill. It will elude them for the time being. But with these rotational gunfights that SIUE were able to clean up, you were able to take Eons and Reality off the streak potential, and you were at least able to mitigate the pressure from the rotation.
And interesting enough with St. Edwards still contesting from the front, a route from Vanity will actually flip the spawns back around again. So the Hilltoppers have done enough to get right back into this game. Plasmid, very aware, though, that his teammates are spawning away, is looking to recover the backside, and oh, he's killing quick. D-Day working on the inside will lead to a break attempt. How does this work out for St. Edwards? Plasmid, hello? His walks right by Combat doesn't make too much of a difference. D-Day there to help him out. But with all that said, St. Edwards are still in a position to continue to contest.
Cycling players out. They have knocked down this deficit just about 6 or so. D-Day drops down, finds yet another. That'll set up the rest of SIUE from what numbers they have left to sustain on this hard point for the time being. 8 seconds left to play. Got to look at the rotation going over towards 5. Just as soon as I start talking about it, the Cougars start giving up the space, trying to set themselves up over by L for this P5 hardpoint.
Just playing cheeky corners right now for SIUE. Looking to get a read on where St. Edwards are going to be trying to break from, but they've missed Eons. Oh, that's a big gunfight win on the hardpoint. Can he keep his life? He's being tested from his left. It's D-Day who's looking to finish things off, and he will be able to do it. But with Vanity on the high ground, an opportunity maybe to take more than just the opener, but things stay neutral. 3-point game. Game clock ticking away, slowly but surely. SIUE with the favorite spawns will have an opportunity to reinforce. But once again, it's Eons from the top. He actually gets a double. That'll keep things neutral. SIUE still worried about the high ground control, and rightfully so. Vanity slips the net once more. This hard point has been more game clock than to either team's favor.
And it's looking like it might continue to be that way unless you deal with player number 4. That's ZD all the way towards the back. Reality's able to take them down. So now they can put their feet inside of this hard point. Is also able to take down Slow-Mo, trying to recontest for the scrap time. 10 seconds left on this hard point. St. Edwards are going to take the lead. Look at how they're zoning the middle of the map as well. They got players already trying to zone away the inside of Tools as well. That's Vanity trying to create more space, cause more havoc.
He's in a great spot to just continue to run circles in and out of grannies. This is chaos right now for SIUE. Can you try to control some of the tempo that St. Edwards is throwing your way? And with 3 straight kills, looks like they very well may be able to do so. 2:01 is where the clock stops for St. Edwards. 195 now for SIUE with more play through Barnside. Big gunfight win for Plasmid. One more to contest. Gets a read, but doesn't make a difference. Reality able to respond, but the numbers not good for St. Edwards. It's just Reality left alive, and as he drops, SIUE will reclaim the lead.
They'll take the lead, and they know exactly where the Hilltoppers are coming from. This backside of Grandma. Slow-Mo's going to be able to get that information, won't be able to find a kill. Vanity's going to try to deal with Slow-Mo, but Slow-Mo's going to buy so much time because you know you have to deal with them. Eons will finally take them down, but just the moment that St. Edwards try to get through the middle of the map, they are getting gunned by D-Day, who in Mythic, who finds himself on a 5.
Mythic all over Grannies at the moment. He's got great help from D-Day to his right. 221 to 202. Rotation looks good for SIUE. You have to put something together right here, right now if you're St. Edwards! Little turn from Mythic! 7 straight, give him the glide bomb. SIUE all over the new hard point. It's been one hell of an effort for St. Edwards, but the streaks will now start to rain on in. Can you work your way through this? Maybe able to. Combat's heading around. He's going to get around the back. The spawns are going to flip. Can St. Edwards break? It's the substitute to clear the hard point, and St. Edwards is still alive.
And Vanity off the respawn is able to take down D-Day and towards the back. So now you got to look at SIUE. That's coming from the A plat, trying to contest from the front. No, St. Edwards cannot close it out here, but they'll put themselves damn close if they win all these gunfights.
No, Slow-Mo again from the rooftop. Someone has to watch him. He's able to get on through to at least neutralize. But Vanity and Eons keep their lives a little while longer. The kills come through. 18 seconds of scrap time. SIUE, what's the decision? They have to chalk this. You're not going to get here in time to contest. You've got Reality already on rotation for St. Edwards. If he can open up the back, it could be massive, but he falls. And a second kill collected as SIUE should have good granny control.
They should. Nade's going to come in. It will tag Mythics. The stun won't confirm a kill either. Eon slides in, finds themselves gunned by 3 players. What can you do now if you're Vanity? Well, he finds himself 2. Slow-Mo for the clutch. Won't be able to find all the trades in the world. The hard point remains neutral.
It's on the Star Student. No, shut down, and SIUE from the grips of almost giving away a key rotation. Lock in map number 1, 250 to 233. But oh my, what a show from St. Edwards, especially from Combat, subbing on in, looking real fresh.
Yeah, man. I mean, also big shout-outs to Eons, who was also picking up what felt like the Thresh role, right? He was playing a lot of AR there. It does say a lot to the flexibility that Eons does bring to the table. But yeah, you got to give a big shout-out to Combat, obviously subbing in. Can only imagine just last second, they probably only knew for like maybe 10 minutes tops that he was going to have to play this match versus SIUE. And dude was running routes.
Yeah.
That game doesn't get extended unless Combat makes that route all the way out from River, gets the squad spawn for, what was it, Vanity down there, to be able to find the kills required to force out the rotation. It just felt like, again, that slight lead that was built early on could have been, if not closed, if not further composed for St. Edwards if they just did not allow 40 points to go damn near uncontested on P3.
Biggest thing, I think, is you're going to see it at the stat sheet here, a couple of streaks that really got put together. Obviously, Mythic earning the glide bomb was a big part of some of that stretch that you mentioned, but Slow-Mo as well. Just the fact that he got topside barn on P2 two different times, and no one was checking that is just,
that's crazy.
Arguably inexcusable, but that's, you know, things that could happen when you're playing with a substitute that doesn't have the same kind of play time in this core that you have from someone like Thresh. Not to say that he was a difference maker there, but those little vulnerabilities and those holes in your setups can happen. So for SIUE, a couple of key moments once again from the SMG line, getting them into a position to clutch up even in the face of what was a very, very tight affair.
Dude, I just can't stop looking at that assist column. Team shots were all over the place for SIUE. Their teamwork is at an all-time high right now. And we didn't get all the chance in the world to watch this team throughout the regular season. Damn, have they shown up here on LAN. Got a very tough opponent ahead of them in Search and Destroy. Again, going back to that series in lower round 1 versus St. Clair. Yes, they were able to take the Berlin Search and Destroy, lost the Tuscan 2-6. But even still, SIUE Esports, it cannot go understated. This is their worst game mode coming up.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely the case. And, you know, I think the biggest thing about this as we look forward is how much trust and knowledge base is going to be here for St. Edwards in your playbook. You know, I hate to keep just harping on Combat, you know, being the guy that's subbing in, but hey, that is the major difference maker between what you would expect versus what we're getting. So, I don't know. We'll come to learn here pretty quickly as we look at the Bakaj Search and Destroy. I think the biggest thing that we've learned about this map mode combo over the course of the last couple of months since the bomb site changes, you don't have to play aggressive defensively. You can play point-of-contact defense. You can wait until you see somebody or get some information off of a bit of utility before you really have to commit to one side or the other. So will that be a default setup for St. Edwards, or are they going to try to do something a little bit more uncharacteristic and unorthodox, but maybe try to hit opening routes and maybe just try to take SIUE a bit off guard, considering that this is one of their most vulnerable game modes?
So, watching the Hilltoppers on Bakaj Search and Destroy since the changes, when they do make those aggressive hits, it's mostly done over by the A lane. And again, I hate harping on this, but it's Thresh, man. Like Thresh is always finding that one key kill on the backside of Dashy Tank or over by the God Tank on the opposite side over by the hedges. But you could do it with the SMGs. And we've seen this kind of develop since the bomb sites have been changed, that you can get a lot of good SMG presence by way of those set tacks and nades through the middle of the map over by the black car outside a gate. You can get the information, and then SMGs can then flood on into Grandma's, and you can get a quick plane over by B. It could work.
Well, with all that in mind, here is a look at how St. Edwards has fared so far in the Search and Destroy through 4 total maps that have been played. Biggest thing about it, with them starting their run up against Davenport, they took a 6-4 win in map number 2. They then turned into a Bay State series where they lost 6-2 in the map 2 search. But of course, throughout what we've seen so far for St. Edwards is kind of categorically between the postseason, this has been, I won't say a linchpin for success for them, but they have enjoyed a lot of success over the course of the postseason on their run to get to this event in Columbus in the first place. So we'll see. Again, I think the biggest thing with Combat filling in is how deep is this playbook going to be, or how much of it is going to be. Here's our default. We need to have somebody IGL our adjustments when they're needed.
That's what it's mostly going to come down to, right? To remain composed. You don't have your cornerstone of an AR, but you still have the core 3 that can keep this team in check. It's about making sure things can be as comfortable as possible. Offense first here for SIUE. Going to be looking at Barn first and foremost for a potential Grandma hit.
Ooh, aggressive setup defensively here over the top of the A site. Nearly works out for a first blood, but Plasmid keeps his life, and on the opposite side is Slow-Mo through Grannies for the opener. So numbers and convincing map control coming out for SIUE. Reality was considering a long play through B, but instead decides to try to recover this backside of the A site. As honestly speaking, Vanity is a little bit stuck at the moment. He's going to need a little bit of help, and without Grannies in their control defensively, St. Edwards is just hoping and praying they find good contact.
Oh, shots from Eons on the backside of the God Tank. Will actually dissuade the positioning for the time being. The Cougars try to recontest and plant this bomb at A. Yeah, they're going to try. Vanity's going to check this, though. And what a check of a call. Mythic stops the plant. 36 seconds remaining.
SIU's flirting here. I mean, this is all individual gunfights coming out. It's dangerous. Especially now that the bomb carrier falls and SIUE are completely on the B side of the map. You have to get D-Day and Plasmid out of this B trench. Slow-Mo, yeah, sure, he could get the bomb, but he cannot plant this without significant help, and now it finally gets here. Plasmid on the back will keep safe not just the tower, but also the back windows. Reality will be seen and scoped out. Bomb planted, and no chance for St. Edwards to try to pull off a miracle 1v3.
But it almost didn't even require one. Again, it was that little bit of hesitation. It almost looked like SIUE were in-game arguing with the way the arrows kept on bouncing back and forth. Like, are we trying to plant at A? Like, or are we trying to re-wrap back through the middle of the map? Because we found at least a numbers advantage, try to get ourselves back over towards B. Because to be completely fair, Mythic could have had that bomb planted at A. The timing was decent for Reality to come check it, but he didn't commit to it. Just needed a little bit of help, like you were saying, for SIUE, but the other 3 players had already committed to get down towards the B trench. So an offensive round win. Here comes St. Edwards. Bomb carrier of Combat is already on the backside of the hut.
Stay safe from incoming defensive nades. St. Edwards still throwing a lot over towards mid and into A. This comes down to how do you flush out these two Cougars defensively in and around Grannies, because at the moment they're going to be very difficult to not just see, but also trade. It's D-Day for first blood. That is actually across from the top side of the windows. As Vanity's on the high ground as well. The problem about this is you really didn't have anyone to spam down those locations, and there's no control with the ARs whatsoever. I just don't know how you work this out with two SMGs left if you're St. Edwards.
You got to try to flush them out one way or another. You got to get in their face, but just as soon as Combat tried to hit her out, Plasmid will gun them down. Vanity might find one for free and towards the side. Trade should be here across the riverside, and it absolutely will be. Yeah, it's just the ARs they have to be checked. This is where the rehearsal of those set nades and stuns need to come through, because you need to get them out from these positions. If not, get yourself that space provided for the SMG lineup to move forward. If not, ARs to be able to get themselves in a better position to be able to recontest that same line of sight to take an AR out of commission. If not, get them out from that position fully.
So as far as a first look for SIUE on both sides of the map, convincing thus far, and a lot of it from two different sources. Plasma, D-Day, both on 3 in a row. Trying to spam the cross through the double doors was D-Day. Not able to connect with anybody. The stun also a bit amiss as far as where it was planned to go down. So for St. Edwards, you freely get your defender in reality, not just up to, but through the B site. And this is just good containment. If St. Edwards could trust this position from reality, you should be able to overwhelm in and around A. Good first blood. Bomb's still stuck for a plant, and Mythic breaks the camera. Vanity never saw it, and D-Day follows up the flank made safe. Means you have to win it from the front, and Combat is at least able to neutralize and turn this to a 2v2.
Stack up with Eons. They're going to attack this from the A lane. Now, the biggest issue is you're going to have Plasmid. He's up top barn, but Eons absolutely smokes him. In the read from Combat, he knows where he is.
D-Day has to check this. What a read from Combat. Little slide channel, double peek with the Eons. Good convincing trust for both of the last remaining Hilltoppers. Get St. Edwards on the board.
Yeah, that's so massive for Combat again. He hit that route, and he brought it all the way home, man. Just was able to, again, flush out at least inside Grandma's positioning, able to at least clean up one, and then immediately conveys the information on where the potential setup might end up being as well. It's just one of those things, again, with that bomb being planted, you already cleared away the backside of the water wheel. You should already assume if it's not backed in, it's probably going to be top barn. That is a very clutchable position from that bomb plant. They do well to be able to find those last 3 kills between Combat and Neons, getting themselves on the board.
SIUE, very similar defensive setup. This time there's an extra defender in towards Granny's house. They're completely keeping B open and vacant in favor of this stack, and well, the team shots are just too good. And once again, we're stuck with the last 2 players for St. Edwards carrying MP40s. Good first blood from Combat. He's actually gotten around the back. If he can get a regen off, maybe finesse a little while longer, maybe there's a chance to turn this to a 2v2. But Mythic there to shut down the play at a huge advantage defensively for the Cougars.
Yeah, it's just so tough if you're Combat because there's really no C. You are behind enemy lines. Even if you try to go upstairs, you're going to be gunned by another player. 1v3. Vanity does have the bomb, so it is possible. But the biggest issue, are they going to be able to find the timing to cross towards the A-bomb?
And that's the thing, is you know that you could possibly be contested from topside window. D-Day will not be the first point of defensive contact, though, towards A. In fact, it actually looks like SIUE are going to be happy to just allow the bomb to be planted, then play a 3v1 retake, and Vanity nearly comes around the correct corner at the right time to possibly tally another elimination. But SIUE, these opening first bloods, it's just too convincing. You're losing both your ARs in the first 15 seconds if you're St. Edwards, and from that point, if you don't have the ability to wallbang and spam out these key locations, as you were mentioning from a couple of rounds ago, it just feels impossible.
Not unless you find just the utmost perfect timing of what we saw from Combat, but the issue is you have to consistently do that with about 50 HP, because it needs to be snap gunfights. They need to continuously come all the way through, but you can see these ARs stay alive a lot longer. Plasma will throw some shots, will bounce away with their life. I think they got nipped at by the ankle.
Oh my God! Slow-mo, what have you done? The definition of World Star! Oh my! Are you kidding me? That is disgusting!
Yeah, he doesn't even know what he just said. Look, yeah. Heard that little pop off through the wall, man. That was, jeez. And look, again, you know, when we were talking about this SIUE roster, man, slow-mo, the only other word that I could think in correlation to him is just how explosive of a player he truly is. We saw that at the end of the Tuscan Hardpoint versus the Saints. He just always has just a pocket full of tricks he can end up just pulling out right there. 4 and 3, not the sexiest KD ratio in the world. But it's little plays like that that always remind you who Slow-Mo is.
You cannot have this. This is every round Reality has been pushed off the same angle from backside tank. If you're not going to get nades to the backside of the defensive side of the spawn, you just can't chow this. Fortunately, Reality stays alive this time. So for the first time offensively, St. Edwards has a chance to actually put together a 4v4 round. The thing about it is, no one has been able to get any shots up towards Mythic's position. So as far as granny control is concerned, it's all SIUE. And if he can continue to just kind of peek push this window shade, he may stop any play before it even gets off the ground.
Waiting out the nade. Reality was scouted. He's going to have to reposition himself, but Eons will take down D-Day. This is the power of the full 4 roster of St. Edwards when they all stay alive. ARs are able to move forward. They have A-side control, but they know the backside isn't fully secure yet.
Oh, and this is just an absolute blender.
Damn.
Plasmid on one side, never moved, by the way, after that initial gunfight with Vanity. And Mythic from the top side of Granny's sets up a peak for just the perfect bit of timing. So now it's just on Reality. Gets his first kill, but it would have to be 3 in a row here for a 1v3. Not a lot of time. The plant is pretty much out of the question unless he can pick it up and immediately stick, which he's not going to be able to do. So for SIUE, you're going to go up 5-1 here. And my goodness, has that been convincing pretty much from start to finish. It's in the first 30 seconds. Even if the kills aren't being tallied, St. Edwards has 0 room to work with.
But you don't always have to find all the kills. Again, it's search and destroy, right? So if you have the immediate information on when one AR is at, you deny that immediate position, you take further map position away from St. Edwards. The SMGs can't comfortably move forward. I feel like we've talked about this for a handful of rounds now, where it's just like without that wall spam that you get from the Automaton, the FMJ, you're not going to have comfortable submachine gun positioning. Now map point to go up 2-0 here for SIUE. Slow-Mo's feeling themselves on 4.
Oh, my goodness. He's just going to go quickly. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Slow-Mo living to the opposite nomenclature of his name. Moving very rapidly through mid. Has completely put things all over the place for St. Edwards. Oh, boy. They are in absolute pieces. And as Mythic turns the numbers into a 3v2 advantage for the Cougars, it just feels like a matter of time.
Like a Slow-Mo's dead silence ran up, and now he's just playing a corner over by the door. Split players as you may like it. Got Vanity inside of Grandma's. Eon's trying to keep these players at bay for the Beast Bomb.
Nade cooked up well. It's not enough to finish the elimination. So a missed chance. Counter nades coming through. Tags up Eons. He has to go stationary. Vanity looking to follow off, but no. Not going to happen. Eons, try as you may. You're missing out on time and information for that matter, but he's done well to clear off A. Problem about it is, how do you want to get back over and recontest this B side? Maybe it's just a pure piece of timing was what I was going to say, but he gets caught on the rotation. And SIUE, well, just like that, go up 6-1, and you start to feel for St. Edwards that the wind is starting to very quickly exit the sails.
Yeah, I mean, again, the frustration's got to be there. You know, last-minute substitutes don't make any tournament easier, especially first time on LAN versus a very stiff amount of competition. But, you know, they're trying to make the most of it. I think it also does have to be said. I mean, SIUE, like, they are playing very well. They are.
Absolutely.
Their initial setups, their defensive setups. Obviously, we can talk about how the ARs were not finding much pressure at all when it comes down to the Hilltoppers. But they weren't finding much pressure because SIUE were constantly putting themselves in the right positions to deny said pressure. And then that immediately turned into Slow-Mo taking that positioning away. It was just clinical, orchestral search and destroy that was being played out for SIUE.
Yeah, really good stuff, honestly, from start to finish. As much as it hurts for St. Edwards, you missed a couple of chances, I would say, to make that map 1 go your way. And then the search and destroy just never really felt like they had anything put together successfully in the first couple of moments on their offensive side. I mean, look at the first blood tally. 5 collected, 3 of them by Slow-Mo. Again, like you mentioned, just with an SMG largely in hand throughout the entirety of the map, just getting aggressive and taking away space. And on the other side, I mean, Reality never a part of a first blood conversation, really outside of him getting killed. And then Vanity only had 1. It just, yeah, it's just not great news.
Only 1 assist for St. Edwards, and that was from Vanity. The collective 6 for SIUE. And again, this goes back to the same conversation I was having coming away from the hard point on Bokaj. is that the assist column was almost about twofold for SIUE Esports. Their team shot, their ability to play off of one another, their cohesion is at an all-time high right now. Walking away from that Map 5 win against St. Clair Saints. And I know, call it again, it's very unfortunate St. Edwards are not playing with their full roster. But this SIUE team is playing very well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really do think that there's a certain level of confidence that gets pushed, through that Map 5 win versus St. Clair. And obviously you have that miraculous comeback in map number 1. So, I mean, everything kind of just feels like it's building. And like we had said, like SIUE is really catching stride.
Yeah.
So you've got the ability here to try to put St. Edwards away quickly and get yourself set up for Ottawa to try to finish off the evening. We've got Tuscan Control up next. It actually is a Berlin hardpoint for map number 4, so we don't get the triple stack of Tuscan, which would be where St. Edwards would have to put together the reverse sweep, starting here, of course, with map 3.
This Tuscan Control is going to be an interesting one, right? Because we saw just, I want to say, the tenacity of SIUE. Because they were down horrendously in that map number 3 versus St. Clair. And I mean cataclysmically down bad. It's one of those things that this SIUE roster, albeit down as far as segment progression was concerned, never dissuaded their thought process. Knew exactly what they had to do round in and round out to be able to get themselves those early kills, those early rotations, power positions, get the segment progression required to get themselves at even footing as far as segment progression is concerned. But what they constantly were always able to do that was just at an all-time high that I think St. Edwards might struggle to do with, that's isolated a lot of plays, find themselves in 1v1s, and more often than not convert them to always have that life lead.
See how things unfold here, because for SIUE, yeah, you've got the recent experience built off of that round versus St. Clair, but on the opposite side, here's what Eons has been able to do in Control and why he's our featured star student in this matchup. A 1.28 KD in Control against the caliber of opponents that they've played is unbelievable. 4,000 average damage a game, and, well, average 5 kills per round. That's not the greatest ever, but you look at that 1.28 KD when you're playing up against teams like Bay State, yeah, it's pretty darn good.
Yeah, the one thing that we don't see are the deaths, but averaging 5 kills per round with about a 68% non-traded kill percentage, that means that this young man right here is staying alive a decent amount and putting out 4,000 damage per game. That's a really good amount. That is a very healthy amount for Eons to be able to find for themselves. But you really feel like that there is an excess amount of pressure for Eons to be able to pick up that flex with the automaton, to be able to put themselves in a position to be able to pick up the slack of they don't have the running mate of Thresh today.
And you want to talk about just a difference maker. This little head-to-head with Slow-Mo on the opposite side. Yeah, sure. You kind of see a very stacked difference favoring St. Edwards, but Slow-Mo has been the one player that I think has kind of dominated the conversation through the St. Clair series and now as well here through the first 2 maps of St. Edwards. He's really turned things up and around here. So what can he do to kind of build off of this more lackluster stat line? I mean, again, if you're SIUE, you had to play up against Northwood in your first round. So,
yeah,
that's the best Control team here without question by far. So, that's going to be obviously hampering your overall individual stats. But Slow-Mo has been great, and I think that this is a very accurate representation of who could possibly be the win condition for this upcoming map for their team.
Yeah, and again, walking away from both that Bokosh hardpoint and the Bokosh search and destroy, I mean, I hate to sound like a broken record continuously, but Slow-Mo is explosive, man. If you put Slow-Mo in a position where they have to get 3 kills, he'll find him. If you put him in a situation where he has to force out a gunfight, he'll do his best to do it. And so far, what we've seen over the past two and a half series now, he's been able to piece those together more often than not. Slow-Mo is absolutely clutch for this roster, and it really makes it a nice kind of feeling when you also have Plasmin on the back line, just anchoring things out for this roster.
I think the biggest thing as far as what to watch for between those 2 players, it's going to be from the offensive side of the conversation, because I feel like it has to be good this time around for St. Edwards. You have to be able to find success on the offensive side of this house good Control. Otherwise, your hopes of trying to extend this series, I think, get dwindled at least very convincingly so. With that all in mind, I really do believe that Eons has to step in and really get to a point where he is superstar potential for this squad. It's not like anyone is really underperforming right now for St. Edwards, especially considering that combat's filling in.
Yeah.
But there is a little bit of a shoes to fill mentality around Thresh having to play through the quals and not being able to play right now. someone has to fulfill what he normally does on the map. And a lot of that is the calling, the IGLing, and the ability to be a playmaker.
Yep, exactly. It's all of that, which is why, again, I feel that more pressure already falls on Eons, because when this team is already playing with Thresh, Eons is always right there with them, right? So Eons then, again, picking up a lot more AR than what I've seen from him throughout the entirety of the regular season, kind of adds a little bit more of a discomfort to the rest of the team, right? It's more than just needing to step up to fill Thresh's shoes. It's more about just having to make sure that the team is cohesively working together. Without some of that cohesion, without that teamwork, I mean, St. Edward's not going to be able to make a deep run. They might not even be able to make it out of this control if they don't string together some semblance of teamwork.
Yeah, I think the reason as well, just to kind of finish off the point, why we look towards Eons is because, simply put, we've seen the potential. We've seen his ability to fulfill that role.
Yeah.
So now it's do or die. We'll see how it all unfolds. We load on in, and it will be SIUE on the opening attack. 2-2 stack, over-focused in towards mid and A. Opening shots from D-Day keeps reality at more than arm's length. But look at the quick play coming to St. Edward's in the middle of the map. It's largely red. Slow-mo able to keep his life, turn that into elimination, and Combat's going to have to make a huge play happen around the flank. Good for the first. Needs to read where the other Cougars are listed. Gets a good read on the second and nearly has a chance to combat against the third, but the help is there, and the first tick of progress is denied.
Now it's just about consistently holding the line. Again, off spawn, Vanity's already inside the fire alley. Eons from long range is going to be able to at least take one down over by the tree, and no one's watching the flank. Vanity's going to be able to get back here for free, and yeah, he's done well. He finds 2 combat for the third. But on the opposite side, Plasmid does the same flank.
The thing about it is he really can't do anything from this position outside of maybe get one. That wasn't even a guarantee. I love this idea and mentality around this for St. Edward's, though. Just keep running routes through P5. And all of a sudden, you're kind of forcing SIUE with the rooftop spawns to have to play for B, and wouldn't you know it, Eons is here to kind of keep it held responsibly. I love this idea from St. Edward's. You're just swarming.
Yeah.
This is the definition of just being unpredictable, and it's worked out largely so far. But that said, SIUE do have a double stack over towards A. Still plenty of lives to play with and plenty of clock to play with as well, but the problem is the kills are not convincing enough. Combat able to stay alive, and that will keep SIUE at bay just a touch.
We'll touch the day zone. Now again, another route is starting to manifest itself. Actually, he's going to just go top church, so this has to at least be contested from the front. Progress at A is very quickly working its way up. Second tick's going to come through before St. Edward's can touch.
And the thing about it is St. Edward's just trying to contest this. You don't realize that there are 4 players here, how quickly that zone is normally going to go. And all of a sudden, what was about a 5-life lead turns to just 2. So we got to talk about building a lifeline for SIUE on this offense. They've just done that by way of that 4-stack and catching a couple of Hilltoppers off guard as they were looking to finesse and challenge some of that scrap time around the A zone. So with some north map control here for SIUE, they would have to clear out Church completely, but St. Edward's more than happy just to kind of create literally a shield around this B site at all 4.
Well, they're trying to cover it all fronts. They don't know where this hit's coming from. How many players did Reality see? Probably more than just one. So you know that there has to be immediate help to be able to look at this. I love that off of Respawn. Reality's not even going to try to go to the backside of Church. They're going to leave this trust to Eons, who does find one, and the help is also kind of funneling all the way down through the patio side, but Mythic is chasing it from top green.
It doesn't make too much of a difference, though, even though if Mythic finds a kill or 2. The ability to set up a pinch is now negated. Mythic, a good read that 2 members had made their way over towards P5. Good prediction. Vanity able to deny the gunfight for a time, but the trade does still come through. 30 seconds on the clock, 11 playing 14. SIUE still looking for some ground to work with. They're forcing it through Church side. Big win for D-Day. Gets the second as Reality was low. Now numbers started to stack through Church Alley. 20 seconds on the clock. Good help over the top, though. St. Edward's still holding a bit of high ground control, but Mythic there to change that. And SIUE a chance to get on to B.
Oh, big trade from Eons. We'll get Mythic out from top flat, but the numbers are still there. Look at top green. Plasmid is going to be able to belittle players with bullets, so Eons need some help to stay alive. They do well to clear away the zone for the time being. 10 seconds, Plasmid needs to make a move. And the only move they can find is death. A lot of this round you would really feel like was chalked away from all of the coverage that also came out from the very beginning for the Hilltoppers. Again, you called it. They were cycling out from P5 from the middle of the map continuously, and that forced SIUE to almost be a little frustrated, it looked like, on the map. They ended up trying to probably converse with themselves, like, where are all these players coming from? Is it the middle of the map? Not always. They have to go clear P5. So 2 players try to do that. They die trying to get over towards the B zone. It just felt like St. Edwards did such a good job at just shaving down the clock. It got a little scary with that extension, trying to get that A zone back in their favor, but we'll still get the defensive round nonetheless.
Oh, and coming off of the defensive win, Eons gets the first blood to put him on 5. There's 6. So now 1 away from the glide bomb. No need to force this one. Nade cooked up. Oh, he actually does get a pretty solid look at Slomo, but the kill does not go his way. A teammate picks it up instead. Pardon me, he actually does get number 7 by way of Nade. So the glide bomb is earned, and now the focus for the Hilltoppers could purely be on trying to get as much progress as really possible on towards A. Think about it, this Plasma plays prone to the death spot. That'll be good for a time, but Eons, oh boy, pops up, gets a double, and all of a sudden, it's not just 9 in a row. It's St. Edwards looking good for an extra 60 seconds.
Eons is frying right now. Yeah, stack it, get that third tick of progress, boys, because that is going to be 60 seconds added on towards the board. 7 for 5 trade is this round so far in favor of the Hilltoppers. You have streaks to use. You just need to find yourself a positional advantage. Maybe find yourself a couple of kills, and then maybe you can call that in for an offensive round. If not, stack for 2 ticks.
Number of different conditions you can play for here if you're St. Edwards. The ability to possibly convert an offense, though, would be critical towards trying to get yourself back into the series. Playing for advantages is fine when it comes to tick progression, but you can force SIU to have to kind of mini reverse sweep you in the map. You'd feel really good about what you're able to put together, and the confidence could be high. Eon still hasn't died, by the way, this half. Finally drops 12-4 overall, and SIUE will use that as an opportunity not just to clean him off of the 10 spree, but also take some really forward positioning defensively.
Shaving time off the clock. Life lead in favor of the defense. Combat, though. Timing. Bottom side of P5. So they are not alone here. Gently going to close the door there. You're going to get chased slow-mo. Unfortunate to say. There's 2 more Hilltoppers right behind this button.
Combat, the first one to move forward. He's going to expose where G-Day is positioned. All of a sudden, the Hilltoppers an opportunity to start making their way through, but Plasmid blocking down Patio with an automaton. Good help on a Mythic. And just when you thought St. Edwards was going to get a really solid look at the B zone, it immediately goes right into their face, and SIUE back into map position control.
Player number 4 as well. G-Day's gone rogue. He's going to get cut down over inside of fire. I don't know where he thought he was going to go. But nonetheless, I don't think it's going to mean much of anything because you still have to try to get through the middle of the map. But how has this happened? I mean, again, you have players like Eons that just tries to sprint down the B ramp without any coverage or without the cohesion to be pushed over by top Patio. If Vanity is able to stay alive there, the team kill does not get forced out. Maybe we might be having a conversation of the extension of this offensive play, but it just might not be there.
It's still not on grips yet. Combat trying to make a player on the back has kind of created some space for the rest of his teammates to step forward into his previous position. 12 playing up against 10. Lives are low on both sides. Ah, what shots are those from Mythic? Barely even an angle to shoot back against Vanity. Turns it into a couple of headshots. And now Reality can really do nothing but hope and wait. 12 seconds on the clock. Last attempts for St. Edwards, and it's the substitute of Combat who's able to open the door. But it's immediately open and then shut right back into their face. Combat would have to do something incredible, and Slow-Mo will deny the chances. Last one forward is Vanity, and he gets just completely blindsided by Plasmid. Defense will prevail. SIUE tying up at 1.
Tying up, tick progression as well. 3 segments in total for both St. Edwards and SIUE. And you really felt like they were just like one good gunfight away from getting themselves further positioning, having at least 3 players stay alive, and then maybe utilizing that glide bomb, but they might just be keeping it for a rainy round 5. As control does typically go, again, it is very, very difficult to be able to fully convert an offensive round. You could have guaranteed it with at least 2 ticks. It all depends on what happens here. Plasmid's having themselves a whale of a map number 14-9 for them. Be looking in the middle of the map. Great first blood to find on the Eons, and he also has a read and understanding that there's 4 players in the middle. Yeah, just stop single challing him, man.
More? Yeah, why not? 5 in a row for Plasmid. Just feasting. But St. Edwards from the front clear out the rest of the Cougars, but it doesn't make a difference. Plasmid with the help of an aid wanted the glide bomb by way of pistol, but Eons was healthy enough to deny. So a 2-life lead was built off of the initial spree from SIUE and largely just Plasmid. But Eons at 16-9 is still in a good spot to possibly contest. A little bit of help from a teammate will actually keep SIUE only focused on the objective. No further plays beyond it. As the first tick of progress is locked in, Vanity's got a great angle to deny some reinforcements, maybe giving a chance for St. Edwards to contest.
Gonna keep them trapped inside corners. St. Edwards, they need to move. They hesitated last time around on their previous defense to try to get this back. This time, there is no hesitation. They make sure that they are all stacked up close together. They clear the corners. Eons for 2. Combat will find the 3rd. They'll fully stop
man.
that last segment of progress.
And what to read this is for reality. He's going to call this out. Yep, they're full going over towards B. Vanity going prone. He'll be the first line of defense, maybe the only line of defense that's needed as he gets two. Mythic's still able to keep his life on the top, but there's not a lot of time to work with here. There's no doors open to either zone at the moment as Eons gets the triple. Mythic with the trade. And it's just really down to Combat, who gets smoked in a corner through Archway. So just when you thought one good kill may put this defense into play, all of a sudden SIUE have a chance to extend this round if they can get to A.
They're going to get a two-player stack over here, and you also have Mythic that is causing a ruckus over by field. They'll find two. Yes, they'll be traded. But 60 seconds will be added on towards the board. SIUE, they only have, well, they had a one-life lead, but it's still even. So this is still very doable to be able to at least try to convert a single segment of progression. That's what you're mostly looking for, at least a single, if not two, to be able to guarantee yourself that round 5 defense. They don't have any map positioning so far. They have to battle for it.
First and foremost, you have to figure out where you want to go. Looks like they've made their decision. Great nade. That'll slow things down convincingly from St. Edwards' point of view. Activated in the middle of the map is reality. He'll try to put a little bit of a pinch together, and SIUE will have to once again play cleareds first. Reality on the staircase. Vanity playing patio side just next to him. They want to go quickly and take away more space on the map. And so far, well, I was going to say it's working out okay, but maybe a bit over-aggressive here. Reality back up the ladder. He falls. That's all 4 down. SIUE, a chance to stop the clock. And as you had mentioned, Proper, try to get a key piece of progress here on B. But first and foremost, for St. Edwards, you need a retake. It's an 8v6, 30 seconds on the clock. Plasma from the low ground, shut down. It's Combat for another key double. 25 seconds on the clock. Mythic from the long corner is able to open up the zone. But how do you get here to touch? That's your teammate. Careful. D-Day trying to come through to help you. Nearly just got completely blasted. And with 15 seconds on the clock, you got to go. How are we going to hit this?
You got to be able to set up this bench. You have time. D-Day's going to try to commit around the back, but the moment that Mythic tries to strike, the setup, the crossfire, everything else in between is just too good for St. Edwards. Damn, SIUE had a really good chance to maybe try to get themselves over towards the speed zone. They found themselves, what was it, 4 non-traded kills in a row? They found a 4 dead. They were able to get players in towards the back, but then soon after that, they simply could not find further value. They could not deal with the respawns coming through.
Somebody needed to make a call.
Yeah.
I mean, you had everything. You had a player on the flank. You had 2 players up top on high ground, and a third that had a pretty good opportunity to play through church. And it was just like, who's going to go first? Like, someone has to make the play call.
You would assume that it had to be the player inside a church almost to cause a little bit of distress in towards the back. It needs to be a little bit more of a pushback, and that's, again, like where like you feel like the stress for collegiate athletes here on LAN. Some might honestly be for the first time, could honestly come through.
Regardless of the speculation, it's St. Edwards do collect their defensive round, and now it's on the onus of their offense to try to regain at least a tick or two, not just here at A, but of course need to find some success over towards the B zone. Opening eliminations, though, favoring the SIUE defense. Contest will happen with a tick and a half of progression already locked in, and reality's double from the backside of the long head. He is good. Slow-mo on the opposite side, nearly able to foil the plans of St. Edwards to reinforce, but they will get here with numbers. That's a second tick of progress. And Combat, the sub, is already making a solo play towards B.
I love this. It's going to pull back so many defensive players to try to deal with Combat, and they will get him before he gets that single segment of progress. But you had to give up 60 seconds towards the game clock. You had to give up the entire A zone to be captured. And keep in mind, Eons still has a glide bomb. So you have 2 minutes and 10 seconds for St. Edwards to be able to put themselves in a position, find themselves a good series of kills, be able to utilize that glide bomb, and maybe just potentially not only secure the round 5 defense, but they could also win the offense.
Slow-mo individually with a double off screen has just allowed an opportunity for the Cougars to move forward on the bottom side of the map. So just as good as you would think St. Edwards was able to get something going with all of the afforded resources earned and the clock that had been built. It's SIUE who do hold the favored and advantageous defensive positions. Vanity able to clear out one through headquarters. But how do you get rid of this position over through Radiant? Trying to work a bait and switch. These doors a little stronger here in round 4 than Vanity was ready for, and Plasma will use that as an opportunity to come back through, help the defense set up, and St. Edwards' initial attempts to break have been stifled.
Already shaved about a minute off the clock. Lives are even. You're not going to do this off of kills if you are St. Edwards. You have to do this, you have to at least find a convincing 3. You have to move your way inside of that B zone. Look what's also being formulated as well. They're waiting for the call. Eons is up top to be able to set up this pinch. Now you got to get through Plasmid.
Plasmid! What a double! And he's not done. He wants a pistol kill. Moving forward for it. Beats him up close and personal. Shakes hands with Combat, but it's D-Day who has the final word in the argument. So now 17 plays 15. And Slow-Mo is looking just to delay as long as possible, but he's not going to be able to do too much. Eon's on the way forward. It does alert Mythic that there's going to be a threat, and he's good to at least confirm the trade. 35 seconds on the clock. St. Edward's hope to stop would be by Vanity through mid, and he's able to sneak through. Stunned up, though. An opportunity for a recontest to come out. Gun's not up, and D-Day takes advantage. SIUE, a chance to tie us back up at 2 without giving a tickle. Progress over towards B, and Mythic may have just put the nail in the coffin here in round 4. A triple over towards the backside of P5, and D-Day makes safe the flank.
Oh, man, Mythic is putting multiple final nails in the coffin, man. On a 4 spree going in towards the next round. That could be crucial when you're thinking about the grander scheme of things.
Oh, my. Okay, these are numbers. St. Edwards, with 1 second on the clock, have made their way through, but you have to find the eliminations. Mythic, a chance to try to reap. That's 5. Number 6 in the corner! And Mythic, 1 kill away from evening up the glide bomb as we go into round 5. Oh, boy.
And with that round as well, trading back-to-back 3 segments of progression in total, I'm pretty sure that that final round was enough to be able to give SIUE round 5 defense again. Can't keep getting away with this. Tell me I'm right. I see production is trying to do the math for me. But anyway, regardless of the matter, Eon still has a glide. And now you have Mythic that could potentially get themselves one as well. D-Day is also on 5 as well. SIUE are going to be on defense first. Where are they going to try to go for these bait and switches? Or are they going to really try to lean in for these streaks?
I love this. First look through the middle of the map. D-Day shut down. St. Edwards is looking to try to catch someone off guard. Topside Church. Combat denied. Plasmid and Slow-Mo with the tail of the kills. Keep your eye just on the minimap of where number 1 in red is. That's Mythic looking for the 7th elimination and the glide bomb, but you can't get too cute with this. Gun needs to go up. It gets shut down, and the kills are convincing. That's a 4-for-1 exchange. St. Edwards lock in the second tick of progress at A.
And Reality's already pressing forward. He's trying to find these kills. Slow-Mo actually went right past him, but it doesn't matter. Reality takes down D-Day with Combat's help from behind. That should be 60 seconds added on towards the board. They'll leave Combat behind to be able to guarantee that 3rd segment. Vanity will be there to at least secure it along with him.
The decision-making that Eons has to have right here in this next approach in the next 2 minutes needs to be key. And first and foremost, if you're St. Edwards, you have to get these players out of Church and out of P5. You cannot allow them to stay there because this glide bomb, as much as it's probably not going to find too much elimination potential, it will force them into some tough angles. But you need to get them out of cover first and foremost. Stun on the corner. Slow-Mo able to counter with one of his own and turn that into a double. The trade comes through, but largely SIU's defense win that engagement.
And they also shut down Combat on the backside of Church. I mean, when you're thinking about it, you almost have to split this 2-2, and you have to have that blind trust on 2 different sides. But whichever side that Eons is on needs to stay alive, so that way when they have that positioning, they can end up holding the glide bomb and calling it in, so that way they can take further positioning. 21v21.
Glide in. It funnels SIUE in towards this backside staircase, but the kills, they're just not there whatsoever. There is no double shell to be seen, and Plasmid does more than enough to collect the double. The play completely shut down. 20 plays 17, defensive advantage on the numbers of lives, and on top of that, there's already been a full minute worth of time already killed off of the quick capture from A.
Now you can just continue to play this zone control. If you're looking at SIUE, you don't need to constantly overextend. You just need to constantly force out these 1v1s. Just always keep St. Edwards guessing where you're located at. But you also have players trying to isolate of their own.
No!
Here comes the push out from Patio. Plasmid finds 2 before they get traded out. But there is help in towards the back. You got Eon to worry about.
Yeah, but Plasmid may have done enough. Here comes the help out of Church Alley. There's not enough members here for St. Edwards to hold every single point of ingress. Vanity around the back. Should keep the high ground in favor of St. Edwards, but he's the last one alive. And look how fast SIUE are trying to move way to the lineup nearly. Vanity looking for the double. Tries to cook up an aid, but he's caught in between weapons. Finally takes advantage, but it may be a little bit too late. Slow-Mo now moving forward. Absolutely all over the back line of St. Edwards. And that may have been it. 11v7. Last chance saloon for St. Edwards. Otherwise, you're eliminated top 6. And it's down to largely what's going to be this hit through the middle of the map. There's no way they hit this from the front with any sort of success, you feel like, with the players all over the backside of Radio. And Vanity's going to try to hit a full route around the alleyway. Here comes the pitch. has to find success, and
Okay.
Eons gets the opening double. There's a chance to actually stack for this. D-Day over the middle of the map, though, gets another double, and he's not done. It's 3 for D-Day. It's doomsday indeed for him, but Eon's looking to fight back, not quite able to survive for long enough. What a play from D-Day through Church Alley. Secures round 5, and a 3-0 for the Cougars as they advance.
Look, again, D-Day was that anchoring player all the way on the backside of Church, playing that God tank, waiting to see if there was going to be any sort of pressure that was going to manifest from St. Edward's on the backside. And although they were right, they ended up seeing what was at Eons that ended up slowly wrapping back around in those final moments to put himself in a position to maybe try to pinch, maybe try to get in towards the back. They decided to come down the Church Alley. But, I mean, D-Day saw him, and he was just chasing him, just following around, Tom and Jerry-esque style, man, and just waited for the moment to pounce along with their teammates. But although D-Day found a crucial 3 there at the end, we got to talk about Plasmid. I almost feel like every single time that we were sitting here thinking, it was like, oh yeah, no, St. Edward's, it's going to be a real good time for them to finally find themselves some opportunities, maybe to get a couple segments on the B zone. Plasmid said, a couple of segments, how about a couple kills coming my way? It always felt like he was finding double kill after double kill with the Automaton. I'm sure it'll be quite relevant inside of their stats. And hey, who would have thought? 37-28, 28 non-traded kills, 5,000 damage flat.
Casual. I mean, it was Plasmid's patio from start to finish on that defense around B. Flat out. There's just too many moments that felt like where St. Edwards, with a good setup, just weren't able to set up good double chows, bait and switches, or really anything of the sort. And that fundamental Call of Duty that's kind of lacking in the playstyle really, I would say, overall put them in a position to where the offense never really had a chance, I almost want to say, towards B. Just because you had an individual that's holding a key piece of ground, just watching players run into them. Wow. Unreal stuff out of Plasmid. You have to give a lot of props, though, to this St. Edwards team, and most importantly, towards combat. To step in, you know, you hate to sit there and say the St. Edwards team was categorized by what Thresh was able to bring to this program, but let's be honest, he was one of the best players in the CCL this regular season, and missing him because of the elite quals is a huge hurt towards this Hilltopper roster. And combat stepped in and absolutely did what was required of him to keep them a chance.
Yes, he did. You know, question marks galore around what combat was going to look like with this roster. How is that going to throw the wrench into the entire system that is this St. Edward squad? And to be fair, we saw some changes come through, specifically to Eon's type of play, playing a little bit more of an AR flex rather than just running around with an SMG continuously. But even so, we saw combat come into their own. The scoreline in the respawns were incredibly close. I mean, it really did feel like that St. Edwards were about to make that comeback happen in that 250-233 loss on the Bokash hardpoint. The search and destroy, we'll chalk it up. Again, that team cohesion is out the window. This SIUE team, when it comes down to overall team look and chemistry as a whole on this very day, it's just playing lights out. But in that control especially, that's where you did end up feeling combat's presence on the map. It was a lot more comfortable with the squad. He was hitting routes continuously, was finding himself double kills, was able to extend game clock and be able to find more kills into the back, making the push over by Patio a little bit better, but even still, it just simply was not enough to help St. Edwards catapult over SIUE.
Top 6 finish. Unbelievable display from St. Edwards throughout the season, but their time comes to an end, and as we had mentioned, maybe this is SIUE really starting to catch their stride. It would come at a very key moment because they've got Ottawa next to finish off our first day of broadcast here from the Belong Arena in Columbus, Ohio. Before we send things over to our series break, again, big shout-outs to Nelnet, who are not just helping power this event, but they're also trying to help you get a little bit of cash in your pockets. $1,000 cash giveaway happening thanks to our friends at Nelnet Bank. You can find out more information on how exactly to join by typing !giveaway in the chat right here, right now. We'll get off to a break, though. Come right on back. We got one more match to determine who's exactly going to make up our top 3 for Championship Sunday. We've got Ottawa and SIUE coming up next for our lower round 3 matchup. Don't go anywhere.